Talking CRM with Jeff and David, getting the best value for the whole organization from your integrated CRM and accounting systems. David Beard, CRM Principal, and Jeff Richards, Head of Training Program Development for Sage CRM, spend time chatting with customers, resellers, and others about Sage CRM in action around the globe. Across 3 episodes, we talk with Kyle James from Verder Scientific. Based on the eastern seaboard of the USA, they've been a Sage CRM customer for over 10 years. In this episode, Kyle introduces us to the company and what they provide. We talk about the justification for their first entree into CRM back in 2012 and the value of a commercial leader who's in charge of the CRM implementation.
My name is Kyle James. I'm the Vice President of Verder Scientific US. We are the North American subsidiary of Verder Scientific. The Verder Scientific is really an umbrella name, and under each of that, we have kind of our scientific brands. So in addition to being vice president of the U.S. Subsidiary here, I'm also the business unit manager for Wretch, which is the milling and the grinding, sieving, and assisting equipment. And then we have, additional brands underneath of that, Carbolite, Ultra, QATM, et cetera, that all operate out of this office here in the U.S. We're really just focused on, the U.S. and Canada, and obviously your Caribbean territories. And really, we're just day in and day out, selling or trying to sell anyway, laboratory equipment to a full spectrum of industry, chemical, pharmaceutical, agricultural, really any and all of it, university, government. So the customer base that we have crosses all industrial platforms, which is a good thing for us because we are so diverse that if one segment goes down, maybe it's propped up by another segment. So we are pretty well spread out and pretty diversified. So we usually do, again, everybody suffers a little bit with the pandemic, like COVID or a recession, but usually with our broad portfolio, we typically handle it fairly well. And again, we have been for quite some time now, fully integrated, our sales force and our customer service and service guys with our full Sage suite. So everything is linked up between CRM as well as Sage 100. So everybody operates pretty seamlessly. And then a couple of years ago, we transitioned all of our on-prem equipment into Azure. Pretty big undertaking, obviously. But again, had a few hiccups here and there, but as of right now, we're operating pretty much flawlessly 100% in Azure. Just allows, easier productivity for all of our service guys, sales guys, even the folks that work out of our Newtown office. So it's been a journey.
I want to talk to you more about the technical underpinnings and how you ended up where you are. One thing we didn't really cover on there is you kind of loosely glanced against it. What does the business do?
Oh, sorry. That's a good point. No, we manufacture laboratory equipment. So again, it's for quality control, research and development. So again, with each of the different brands, we all serve a different, say, laboratory need. So for the Wretch brand, if customers are trying to grind things up, like let's say, for instance, I wanted to analyze the plastic in my, coffee cup. Okay. Usually what we would do is the customer says, hey, I have this cup and I need to grind it into a powder so that I can then analyze or do some sort of chemical, test on it. So basically, we would take products like that, grind everything up into a powder, and then that allows the lab guy to test it.
Destructive analysis.
We grind everything up. We just make a mess, really, by that now. But yeah, no, that's really the name of the game is really for Wretch specifically, because again, that's the one I work in. Mm-hmm. We're straight up just grinding everything. Really, particle size is kind of our forte.
If I was to encounter your products, I should say, in my day-to-day life, where would I find them? Who would use this?
Whether it's the chemical industry, if you just think of like BASF, DuPont, all those guys, they would use it. You would have your food manufacturers, Post Foods, your cereal that you eat. They use all of our equipment for testing their cereal. So anybody that you could think of.
Okay, I understand. So anywhere that someone needs something analyzed at a granular level, you provide the things that do that, the grinding, the analysis.
It comes down to your clothing, your shoes, your car, everything, the paint you use, literally everything.
From a CRM perspective then, you started with us back in 2011, if my records are correct, 2011, 2012, with the free user or one or two users. What prompted you to get on board the CRM? What were the issues you were trying to solve?
The main thing was that we had been using Sage 100 or, Mass 90, that's what it was called back in the day, obviously. We had used that forever, and we used to use Act. It was fine. There's nothing wrong with the product. But I wanted something that would integrate with the ERP to allow communication, syncing. I want to be able to do quotes out of the CRM. I want to be able to do orders. I want my ERP and CRM to be speaking to one another. So obviously that was just the logical next step. Was we have our ERP. We're not changing the ERP. Now we need to find something that plays nice with the ERP. So when we started out with Sage CRM, I was like, okay, it allowed pretty much everything that I wanted it to do, as far as making our lives a little bit, allowing workflows to operate and have more of a synchronous flow.
What else happened from a marketing perspective, saying we're using the system to track leads through to the whole customer service? Is that the one sentence summary?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I train any new hire here, you open up, three pieces of tool work, for your arsenal. You have Outlook, you have Sage 100, you have Sage CRM. Really, I mean, the vast majority of people here, they're operating out of CRM, probably 70, 80% of their day, whether it be logging communications, doing quotes, entering new people. The customer service team enters orders through the CRM because, again, it's all tagged. Our service guys are entering service cases and doing quotes for that. So it's really, the CRM is like our hub for our customer information, which is, what the intent was. So it's really to follow the whole journey. And again, like you said, from a marketing perspective, when we go to a trade show in the past, or when we do a seminar, we had no way of really knowing, okay, we meet 50 people. Out of those 50 people, how many opportunities do we create? What's our ROI? How do we do that? And in the past, it was just guesswork. It was like, we're just happy to meet 200 people. Well, it's cool to meet people, but my job is to sell. I'm here to make money. You know what I mean? So that was that. And we wanted to know that our money was being spent for reasonable purposes.
So is that why you were using ACT in the early days? Is it that same mentality about we need to keep track of these things?
Well, sure, yeah. And I mean, again, with the ACT database, I mean, really, that was just a straight up, I was only just treated as a database. As new customers contacted us, we would put them into ACT, enter all their details, and, have notes and things like that. But again, when it came to quote time, we'd jump out of ACT, hop into say, or Mass 90 back in the day, do the quote. And again, they were two good systems, don't get me wrong, but I wanted something where, I had a marriage between those two, because they do communicate, quite integrally with each other. So I want them to always be that way.
You mentioned quotes and orders earlier. Do you do things like, interrogate stock in the back office so the guys and girls can put together a quote? Do you use that level of integration, or is it more about just posting orders through?
Pretty much, like, if I were to say from our sales guys' perspective, like, if a customer contacts me and says, hey, Kyle, I need this, and this. Yeah. Really, the process is, if they're a new customer, we go in, enter the new customer or company. And then our process is when we're ready to make a quote, opportunities always come, you do an opportunity, then immediately a quote. If you're not quoting, you don't make an opportunity yet, because it's not really reached that level. At least that's the way that we define it. So we make an opportunity, that way it's logged, and that way we can start doing communications, scheduling follow-ups, all the good stuff. And then we do a quote. And then once we hit quote, obviously everything from that point is done from the sales order entry module, where we can see, stock status and all the good stuff.
Okay. But life, very much, as you said, it's a hub. So the customer as a prospect starts in CRM.
Yes.
And is all driven out of there. That's good. It's a good discipline to have, because I think some of the challenges we have of customers who don't really get it is they often just start doing stuff in the back office even before they're a customer. And I go, why would you do that?
Right. Yeah, no. I mean, definitely. I mean, we figured it out. And again, not that our process is perfect, but it's not like a strictly regimented process, but it is fairly rigid in that, these are the base steps that you have to take. So yeah, I think you kind of have to have a little bit of that.
So when you started in 2012 with us, which is 10 years, thank you for being a customer for a long time now, you went up to about 33 something users in 2020. Now you're at 52. So I'm hoping that's down to the success of the company, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, we've been really successful so far, with Verder Scientific, and Verder Scientific continues to grow.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the processes that we have for Verder Scientific, let's say, globally, or even, I don't want to speak for the directors over in Europe, they might get upset with me, but again, it's always been, our goal was certainly to grow organically. So Wretch, has been part of Verder for, since the 80s. So that was kind of the original kind of Verder Scientific company. And again, we continue to grow organically, but then we've also, our owner Andres has also looked at M&A activity, acquisitions, et cetera. So again, we are always on the lookout, and we've been adding, we added Carbolite Giro to the fold back in 2013, 2014. We added Ultra, we acquired Ultra, I want to say back in 2015. So again, we've been kind of doing that as well as far as, M&A activity, which, continues to bolster our portfolio. So again, we're growing within ourselves. We're acquiring companies, trying to grow them. So as we continue to grow, obviously we need more people, more users, more licenses, more activity. So yeah, no, I mean, it's really been a growth story, a success story, at least from a Verder perspective.
And what's it been like for you? Because I'm guessing by the way you're talking, you kind of own CRM in the company, right?
Yeah, 100%.
What's it been like when you brought in these new people from new companies, different cultures, different ways of working? How do you get them enthused and on board with CRM?
Usually I come in and say, you do this or that's it. No, I'm just kidding. Getting people on board, whether it be new hires or people coming in from an acquisition. I mean, again, it's always difficult because it's different. You know what I mean? Change is what change is. Some people hop on board and accept it. Some people are reluctant, but it does work out in the end. And some people just don't like it, and it may just be one facet or the other facet. The thing that I've always tried to, when I do the training and when I do, onboarding with the various product lines that we have, the one thing is especially with CRM and even Sage 100 to a certain extent, is that, it's meant to be a little bit of, or I shouldn't say a little bit, it's meant to be an elastic live environment. If I don't have a specific field that, let's say we onboard this team of sales guys and they're used to seeing, I don't know, an XYZ field that means something to them in their sales activity, okay, that's easy enough. If it's an easy field, I'll create it myself, or I'll reach out to Anthony and say, hey, I need this coded up. Can you do this? Right. So having, an agile kind of elastic environment is always helpful, because again, I'm not a fan of putting people in a box.
Yeah.
Even my direct sales team, I don't say, this is how we do sales and this is the shtick that you have to follow. I say, look, here's the base rules. What works good for your communication style, let's try that out. If we need to tweak something, but again, I need everybody to have that kind of elastic feel to them, where it's like, look, we always need to kind of modify and maybe adjust things, et cetera. And I think the CRM platform has been great for that, because if we need a new report, if we need a new field, if we need something linked, if we need to communicate with something, again, it offers that ability where it's not like, a 6-month project.
Brilliantly explained. And that's one of the things I do love about the product. You'd expect me to say this, of course, Kyle, but I do love the flexibility, because it does give companies like you the ability to make changes quickly on the fly themselves. And in your case, when you're subsuming new companies who have a different way, perhaps, or need a slightly different workflow or a different report, you can do that. In the next episode, Kyle talks further about onboarding new staff to the Sage CRM product, the value of his long-term relationship with his Sage CRM partner, LLB Group, and how he has turned his vision into a reality of a valuable operational system for his organization. You've been listening to Talking CRM with Jeff and David, getting the best for the whole organization from your integrated CRM and accounting systems.